flowers bloom in the spring. Each morning at dawning birdies sing, and everything a sun-kissed mist said, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate, California, here I come.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on episode 31 of the Huell's Gold Podcast. I am Alan.
I'm Chris. And that was the Sacramento Symphony Chorus.
All right.
Did you think that, just like last week, we had that Marine band?
Yeah.
Like, they were very precise. This was one of our more precise choruses, I think.
I agree with that, yeah.
I don't know what the Sacramento Symphony Chorus does outside of playing this theme, but usually those kind of choruses, they're playing with, like, the symphony orchestra, so that's like, oof. Big time.
Well, how do you think they commissioned?
Is
it Southern Charm or?
I don't know. I think so, because that's one of the biggest mysteries that we haven't solved yet. Besides, like, who? Let's find Huell's family and get them on the show. But I don't know if they want to do that. How did he find these musicians every week? Who was doing it? I doubt it was him, because he had the production assistants and all that.
Right.
Well, it's a big Huell week.
How big?
It's one of the bigger ones since we've been doing this show, I think. The biggest week was the week we started the show, because we started the show. We unleashed this wondrousness on the world.
Yep.
But this week...
unleashed our marginal
yeah.
ability.
It's the 25th anniversary of Visiting, which... This show is more about California's gold, but it's about Huell in general, and we've done a couple visiting episodes.
Yep.
2, the Elephant Update show, and the... What was the other one?
Salton Sea.
Salton Sea. Man, those were good.
Yeah.
You should go back and listen to those again.
This mystery episode, right? Spring break mystery episode.
Yeah, that's probably why people don't listen to it as much as some of the other episodes.
Like, I don't trust these guys.
Maybe I should change the title. I think I can go back and change the title. Anyway, 25 years of visiting. That's
older than me.
And if you go on the... yeah, right. If you go on the Chapman website and check the episode listing... There were way more of those than California's Golds. Not way more, but a good chunk more. It seemed like an easier show to produce, maybe, because it's predominantly L.A.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're listening to this Sunday morning, which a lot of people do, you're just in time. You should turn on KCET if you're in the Los Angeles area right now, because they're having a 10-hour visiting marathon all day. And
okay.
Not only that, because we can get KCET if we have a really good antenna. Like, it doesn't come over our cable or anything, but if like an over-the-air antenna, we can kind of get it here in Bakersfield. But wait, there's more.
Okay.
You can stream it on kcet.org.
That's cool. And yeah, you could get all the episodes and watch them on the Chapman website, which is very cool. But this is a chance to sit down and
just
have
let it flow.
Huell come through the tube.
Plus, I mean, it hasn't happened yet, so we'll be watching too. I wonder if they're going to have some sort of like pledge breaks in between where maybe they bring on Louis or Cameron or some of the producers to kind of like tell little stories, because that's what I want.
That'd be cool.
Because I've seen that happen one other time, just people telling stories, but it was like the KCET president. And he had good stories because he would like go out to dinner with Huell all the time. So, because that's happening, Huell's been in the news. Two specific times I've had articles tweeted at us that... One that was done by pulling it up, Los Angeles Magazine, is pretty kind of like... If you're a major Huell fan like us, it's not much new information, but it just kind of describes why Huell was so important then and why he would be so valuable now. I sense some politicizing of it, which Huell maybe not would have probably not too into, but
Yeah.
still, like, it's a good way to look at it because he did have a very distinct outlook on the world. But this
For
you read the second article, right?
Yeah. This is the article about the Lost Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An OC Weekly, written by Anthony Pignataro. It is about those, because Huell was hired by Southern California Edison to do like some, I guess, it was a show called Crossroads, and they called it a video magazine where it was like for the employees, by the employees sort of thing, because it's such a big company. But it was very Huell-y, even like before Huell. Or before California's Gold, I should say. Like a lot of people knew him because of what's it called? Videolog, which he was doing at the time. And this article is so well researched because what was his name? Anthony. He got in touch with people from Southern California Edison, found out like how much Huell's getting paid for this, and the kind of other little tidbits. And one thing that I found interesting was one of the people he talked to, Carl Smith and Eddie Brock, Venom, I guess. There was a funny little tidbit in there. I don't want to give the whole article away, but I guess there was a photo shoot going on out in the desert where they were doing some work on some of the power lines or something. And it was a Playboy shoot. And it's a good interaction. You should go read this. We'll throw it up in the description. But there's one thing in here that I thought was like super tall tale-y. Mm-hmm. Did you read that part?
Yep.
Did the thing about the let's call it California's Gold thing? Because I'll throw this out there. One of the people that Anthony interviews is saying, "Oh, I remember driving around with Huell, and he said, 'Oh, I've got this new idea for a show, but I don't have a name yet.'" And he's saying Huell spoke about featuring stories across California, people and places, the gold of California. We looked at each other, and Huell said, "How about California's gold?" Like, it's reaching, but
yeah,
I'll believe it. I also think that maybe this is how I think Huell is. If you've ever met Huell and were around him a lot, you tell me. I think he would create this same conversation a bunch of different times. Hey, I got this new show about, like, people, places, the gold of California. California's gold, and just rehearsed it. I don't want to diminish whose story was that. I think that was one of the guys I listed before.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So, third thing. This is a big intro segment we're doing. There's a Huell event happening this afternoon. If you're listening to this on Sunday, it's being put on by. If you follow us, you should be following social media account. Where would Huell go? Travel kind of social media account, doing lots of Huell-y things. It's a meetup of sorts at the La Cita Bar in Los Angeles, 336 South Hill Street, 4 to 8 p.m. If we lived in L.A., we'd be there, but we can't make it. But you should.
Mm-hmm.
It's a celebration of visiting. And I think that's enough about visiting, yeah?
Yeah, let's get to California's Gold.
Let's visit our state yard.
Is it? Was it our front yard or our backyard? It's technically both, right?
Well, let's let Huell.
Well, the title of the episode.
Well, yeah, it's our
state's front
yard, which is funny because he gets corrected right away. Here, listen to it. It's great.
It all started off pretty bare bones. In fact, when our state capitol building opened up for business back in 1874, it sat alone up on kind of a terraced hill with no trees. Over the years, trees were planted and began to fill out. And before long, the place was pretty as a postcard, full of all kinds of flowers and trees and exotic plants. In fact, the area around the Capitol became almost as well known and loved as the building itself. There are 40 acres in all, and it's called Capitol Park. Before we started our tour of this beautiful park, we met up with Rob Wood, who's the acting director of the California State Capitol Museum. Now, Rob had offered to give us a bird's-eye view of the park before we started to actually walk the grounds. Little did I know that the bird's-eye view he promised us meant we had to go all the way to the top. Literally.
So we're not even in the yard.
No, we start talking to old Bob.
Yeah.
Well, Rob.
Rob Wood.
Robert Wood.
Yeah. Bobby Wood.
Robert M. Wood.
Yeah.
Which I did some background researching on this guy. He's an interesting person.
You were telling me about this yesterday, and this is your cup of tea doing this research. This was great. Hit it.
All right. So we see that old Rob is in the episode the acting director of the State Capitol Museum.
Mm-hmm.
So he served in this role from 1990 to 1994.
Right.
Again, if the research is correct.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So now he's the project manager of the California Indian Heritage Center project.
And what is that?
Well, as far as I understood it, because I was looking up just a little bit, anytime there is something Indian-specific, let's say like the finding of remains, human remains, he's the guy, if he's in that geographic region, that goes, processes, catalogs, or whatever, make sure everything's done to state regulation.
Yeah. Plus, having done anthropology in college, the government has to then deal with whatever tribe that would have been, whoever's remains those were, because they have not jurisdiction, but same kind of deal, where
Right.
the government has to secede those remains or those artifacts to the tribe. So he must have been like
he's like a liaison between the government and
the liaison to the board of directors.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of Sacramento,
Yeah.
he got his undergrad, his Bachelor of Arts in American History with an emphasis on Western American history and Native American history from CSU Sacramento.
Totally sounds like my kind of guy.
This is like exactly your area.
Exactly.
Apparently, he served as the Native American Heritage Commission's representative for several California counties. It looks like it was mainly coastal counties, like Central Coast.
That's where most of the Native American populations were.
Yeah,
So he was busy over there.
right. But he also served as that person for Tulare County
Oh,
and Kern County.
the Killer Kern?
Yep, Kern County.
Man. So he was probably having to come down here when, let's say, there was an archaeological excavation going on at the Bluffs, where
Right.
we know Native American populations existed.
Which they had a pretty cool spot right there,
Right?
right on the edge, right
Have
where
you-
the condos are now.
Yeah.
on the-
If you've been to Bakersfield, there's these bluffs that overlook the great view of the oil fields.
Right.
But it is cool. Like it's one of these interesting geographical areas of town.
Yeah, but Rob Wood, he also got his start at the State Capitol Museum because from 1979 to 1982, during the restoration of the Capitol, he was, I've never heard of this before, the furnishings historian, which it makes sense to try to get this, the period correct, for the development of the museum's 9 historic rooms.
Have you been in the Capitol building?
No, I've only been to Capitol Park.
Okay. So, well, this is what this episode's about. Yeah, I've driven past the Capitol, but little side note. Do you remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger was our great governor? Of the
Governator,
state?
of course.
Do you remember, this was one of the funniest things to like hit the news. And we were like much younger then. I didn't pay attention to the news very much, not that I do a ton now, but I remember there being people legitimately thinking and upset at the thought that Schwarzenegger might have the dome removed so that his cigar smoke could flow out. Do you remember hearing about that?
No.
I remember hearing that and like hearing older people older than me at the time, be like, I'll bet he would. I'll bet this guy.
Take the dome off?
Like, what are you talking about?
That's funny.
Anyway, So Rob had a good little career, still does, maybe.
Well, I checked his pay on Transparent California.
Yeah.
He's definitely sacrificing for the cause.
Oh.
Unless he's doing this part-time.
Okay.
And then he's doing all right.
Yeah, because he may be like consulting in other ways or whatnot.
So, yeah.
Well, as far as him in the show, he gets to take Huell to one of his least favorite places, and that's up.
This is like the first time we get to see Huell sketched out.
Totally. Because, like, it'll be a running thing. There have been a couple times when Huell has shown his fear of heights. And if you read Louis, take a look at this, My Time with Huell Howser by Louis Fuerte, he writes about the heights and Huell's lack of loving it.
Yeah. I mean, he was... Okay, it was pretty high up, but not that... I'm not a fan of heights either.
Really?
At all.
Like...
When I went to Six Flags, and this is roller coasters obviously coupled,
uh-huh.
So if I'm not in control of what I'm doing, I don't like being...
Yeah.
I don't like heights. Well, the biggest ride that I've ridden at Six Flags in Valencia is Ninja.
What's that, like 7 feet off the ground?
And technically the highest, what do you want to call this?
Ascension?
Ascension that I've encountered was the tram going up to the second part of the park.
Okay, so yeah, because I was going to
No,
say I
I've ridden
felt some
free fall,
heights.
So.
Oh, free fall. That's gnarly.
It's pretty sketchy.
Yeah. Huell definitely doesn't like heights, and this is the first time that he just like can't control it.
But it's almost, the questions are funny because he's almost, hey, why are we going up here? You sure about this? And then he goes into, is this sturdy?
Like this old 100-year-old staircase. Yeah, because Rob is taking Huell up to the top of the dome, which is not open to the public anymore. He said it was up until the 70s. But so this is a big deal, Huell. You gotta enjoy the view.
Yeah.
And did you notice because there's like the trap door that they have to open to get out into the actual dome thing? There's like all this graffiti all around it. I was trying to read it, but I couldn't. But
I know it's kind
obviously people are breaking in and getting in there.
Oh, for sure. Well, when they got to the top?
Yeah.
One of the first questions that Huell asks Rob, yes, if this is the tallest place in Sacramento, when there's obviously taller buildings in the background.
But I don't think Huell was actually looking out very much.
But there's one here,
right?
That you pan across. There's one right there. It's just hard to miss. That's
man.
all.
It's funny because I'm currently still like re-going through all the shows, and I'm in like the 9,000 series of episodes. Like while I'm just on lunch break at work, Huell's interview style stays the same, but his level of like quickness with questions gets so much better as he ages. So these and he seems to not put himself in crazy situations as much, but just observe others doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think he's only up there for a little bit, and then he's going to head down to the yard, yeah?
Not before he hams it up with
right.
Rob.
Let's hear him hamming it up.
Well, after we had gotten the overview of Capitol Park, it was time to ham it up just a little bit before we climbed back down to begin the actual park tour. Good morning.
Good morning, Huell.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. Are you ready for a walk this beautiful morning?
I am ready to see my
Our
front yard. Our
front and back
front
yards.
and backyards.
I hope you ate a good breakfast.
I had a...
And
why,
well fortified.
Why do you say that?
Because we're going to take a long walk.
Okay, that's right. We got 40 acres here, don't
We
we?
have 40 acres to see. And even more when you crisscross back and forth to see everything.
Well, as it turned out, we were really lucky because our tour guide was Dody Wheaton, and we hit it off from the start. Dody's been a docent at the Capitol for years, and her special love is Capitol Park.
So old docent Dody, huh?
Yeah, and that's Dody.
Yeah.
Dody. Because there is a lady who I've read her work, Lynn Dody, that's Doti. Although that would be Dottie, like Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah.
I would think. But no, it's Dody. They're actually at Chapman.
Who?
She's an economist with her husband, Jim Dody.
Wow.
And she did great work on unregulated banking in early California.
Oh, you're also specialty.
Yes.
Or soon-to-be specialty.
Soon to be, yeah.
I like this lady. She is very interesting as far as just her kind of demeanor, her look,
Yes.
her vocabulary, and knowledge. Like, overall, I would love to have gone on a Capitol tour with old Dody.
Unfortunately,
This is one of my least favorite segues I've had to throw out there.
Dody passed in 2005.
Yeah.
But I was reading her obituary, and, well, her name's Dorothy Dody Wheaton. Okay?
Oh, so Dody isn't even short for Dorothy?
No.
Oh. All right.
Yes, I don't know where that came from, but she was known as the most knowledgeable historian under the dome, which is a fancy way of saying she knew the most about the Capitol.
Oh, I thought it meant, like, her brain...
Oh, her... No, but she was here since 1982 is when she started.
Okay, and this was 1993 when they did this, so she's
Right, and
11 years in.
I don't know when she retired. She seems like a person that would have worked her whole life.
Totally.
Or nearly all of it.
Because in this episode, she's, up there in age, but...
Yeah, she has a cane, right?
I guess.
Okay.
The cane.
Did you notice what did you notice about the cane?
First off, she doesn't hold it like you're supposed to.
No.
Because, people who have a cane, there's usually the handle part, and that's what you're using as a leverage tool.
Think Martin from Frasier.
Exactly.
Who also acted like he needed a cane.
But so he's like the best cane actor I've ever seen.
Well, here's the thing.
Except for Glenn Jacobs.
So what I got from it is that she holds it as a pointer stick.
Yeah. Because it's not really being used as a walking aid. It's I was thinking maybe, what was her last name again?
Wheaton.
That's not a Basque name. Maybe it's a married, from marriage, because maybe she's Basque and she was a sheep herder, because she kind of holds it as if she's herding her tours.
So I always thought if the kids, because she said it was illegal to break
Flowers
branches or
anything.
pick
Yeah.
flowers. To me, I imagine that she would grab the kids by the neck with the hook of it.
Oh, like on a vaudeville stage? Either way,
Okay.
her caning is interesting. But she is super learned about these trees, man.
Yeah.
Are you an arborist? Would you call yourself one?
No. I appreciate deep
the
information.
shade?
The shade. Oh, yes. Yeah. I guess 2 senses.
So right off the bat, we're in the front yard, which is what I thought this whole episode was. But she corrected in the clip you heard that it's front and backyard. And Huell called it my yard. Our yard. Huell. She kept him on his toes.
Oh,
Did you notice?
She did. Because there were points when he would try to direct her, which we'll get to it.
Yeah.
And she just, I know what you're doing, and I'll just stand right here.
Yep.
And she moves herself.
There's one moment towards the end where he has to literally push her into the right framing that he wanted for the shot. But it was the one little bit about the trees that was beyond just the kind of scientific knowledge that was cool is the reason that so many of the trees in Capitol Park are exotic.
Yes.
Was because exotic trees was a way of seeing the world for people who couldn't travel. Because travel, not like it was too expensive, which I'm sure it was, but it just took forever.
This is why there's a lot of stuff, if I remember right, it's been a while. The Mission Hotel, and we took a docent-led tour there. He was a collector of exotic items as well. And
Items, huh?
But when Dody brought this up, and what you just brought up,
Yeah.
it made a lot more sense to me. I
Mhm.
mean, you kind of, they were simpler people back then.
Yeah.
You know, kind of in
Plus,
a weird way.
You know, when was the Capitol built? 1874? And the grounds had to take a while to really mature, but you got to think, like, even 10, 15 years in, this is still, like, taking a wagon across the country.
Right, right.
I mean, the Donner Party probably wouldn't have been so infamous if they had a car. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's cool, like, that there's still this remnant of that. In fact, when I was in Tahoe, there was a garden that these wealthy people who created this little resort for themselves had arboretum, I think is what it was called. It was like a tree garden. And same deal, like, people would travel far away and bring trees back on boats. And because California is such a great environment, they thrive, which is...
Well, she was mentioning that there was like
Yeah.
I said, I'm so ignorant of the process of bringing these trees over in the early days. But there was a boat with a tree keeper
Mm-hmm.
that had a greenhouse-like structure. Let's just imagine that.
Okay,
Crossing.
wait, let me...
Just, you got it?
So, on the boat, huh?
So, it's pretty crazy.
What do you think about that ginkgo comment? It being a fossil.
Oh, right, right. Well, I reacted the same way Huell did.
What?
What? Yeah. WUUUT exclamation point.
What? Oh, man. Anyway, yeah, she's talking about how the ginkgo biloba tree is unchanged for millennia.
Billions of years.
Yeah, because they found leaves in, like, fossilized leaves, and how they're still the same. So,
That is crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
good segue into explaining this sciencey thing, Dody. But Huell kind of gives her a hard time a few times, no?
Yeah, he trails off a little bit. Well,
Well,
before we get to this guy, did you notice that, well, first he tested
yeah.
the water fountain.
Oh, yeah.
And then he took a swig.
So, if you're watching the show, Dody, she's all over the place with her information. So she's just like waxing on about budgets and how they had to pull certain plants out because of water restrictions and all this. And speaking of water restrictions, there's no restricting this water fountain that Huell sees, and he just kind of, huh? And he just looks at it, walks over. Water fountain still works. Oh, man, Huell.
Yeah.
But then right after that, it's another Dody test.
Yeah, the sundial.
Yeah. And Huell, okay. So he asks certain questions that I love. This is totally Huell way of seeing the world. He sees the sundial. Same thing. Catches it. The corner of his eye. Is that the official state sundial? What? What would make it official? Like the sun is officially
Just because it's on the property?
Yeah.
That's it.
But then I guess the time was off on the old sundial.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't. Whoa, my watch says this. I'm surprised
Yeah,
Dody didn't pull her with the cane away. Get
Yeah,
out.
he blows her up a few times like that, which we'll get to the busted water pipe later.
Oh, yeah. But before we get back to the water pipe, there's a bit where they're talking about this kind of avenue with all these big... Which is funny. I wanted to know what these trees are. They kind of look like junipers, but...
No, they're pot roast trees.
Yeah, what does that mean? Did you understand that when she said that?
Kind of the way they looked, but...
They're kind of pot-shaped in that they're like round on the bottom and flat on the top.
Don't you tie a pot roast? Isn't that what you do? And it looks like
I don't
that?
eat meat, fool.
You ate meat for 32 years before.
No, not quite, but yeah. I don't think we had pot roast as a kid.
Honestly, I don't remember the last time I've had pot roast, so I couldn't.
Yeah, that's like a sitcom-y food to me.
Yeah.
That's what Jill would make Tim when Tim had a hard day at tool time. But Dody's talking about how this avenue of trees is like the most unchanged area. And then we get to probably one of the best interviews.
Oh, I just looked it up. That's not a pot roast. You're right.
Yeah.
Looks like it was in a
crock pot.
crock pot.
Yeah, that's what I was
Oh, I'm way
figuring.
off, dude. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
Obviously, I don't cook very much.
This is the most high-definition picture of meat I've ever seen on this computer. Like, you can see the molecules of protein in this. How did the internet even load this giant picture?
You got the best internet.
Dude,
Shout out to Spectrum.
You even just put in pot roast, and that's the first picture, is the HSD
I know.
fatty old carrot meat. Oh,
Okay,
man.
so that was wrong. It
Yeah.
must be. I don't know.
Yeah, I still don't get it, but don't get us sidetracked on this pot roast.
Okay.
Because we got to the best interview probably in the history of the entire series.
Yes.
You haven't watched the whole series by any means yet.
No, I probably missed a
Couple hundred.
couple hundred.
Yeah.
No, I probably missed a few
good-
dozen here and there.
Yeah. I've seen them all. This is my favorite, I think.
It is. So let me tell you what I was surprised about.
Okay.
Besides him just running alongside
The
the guy.
obvious, yeah.
The guy gave one of the most calm and even had sarcasm.
It's like well thought out answers,
I would-
but quick.
And he never took off his AM radio headset.
All right, so
I was impressed.
yeah, we're on one of these walkways in the park. Huell is already like 20 feet out from Louis, and he's like, "Oh, we got a guy jogging here. I'm going to try and get him to stop." And he gets up to the guy, and the guy, he ain't stopping.
No.
Look at how tight those quads are. He's not letting that loosen up.
No.
So he's got like an American flag shirt on, but it says some stuff. I can't tell what it would say. But littlest little green shorts.
Itty bitty.
Yeah. Like of the time, very like runner shorts that are high up. But yeah, do you remember, did you ever have one of these things?
Mm-hmm.
These headphones with the radio built in?
Oh yeah.
It was one of those things that I remember
And
seeing.
I'm pretty sure
people-
that most of them were yellow.
I
Maybe
think. Yeah. If it wasn't yellow, it just
Blue.
it'll have a streak of yellow at least.
Yeah.
These were something that I saw a lot of people at baseball games have to listen to the like Vince Scully if they're at the Dodger game. But this guy, do you think they're even on? Cuz
He's able to hear Huell's questions very clearly.
yeah. So Huell is running alongside this jogger, just kind of asking about the park, and the man gives these poignant answers. And Huell's what? We're looking at it now. What's he, like 50 yards out now?
Yeah.
He's like, is it okay if I stop? Do what you got to do. Like, of course it's okay to stop. You're in your boots.
Did you notice when he stopped how far he backed up across the entire path? Oh man.
Oh,
Well,
man.
you mentioned something that you were waiting for his microphone to cut out.
Yeah, because the microphone that he uses in these days, he's got like it's a wired mic, but it's wired to a pack in his pocket. And I'm assuming, which I don't know, because I don't think it's recording the audio in whatever the pack is. I figured the pack is batteries and a wire or like a wireless transmitter that transmits to Louis' camera.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Because in the later years, because this is the silver mic, which he has the silver mic for a good 5 to 8 years, depending on the editing of the episodes. Later on, the mic that's in the Chapman Huell museum thing is the battery pack built into it, Mike.
Yeah.
And that obviously doesn't have any recording device. I'm not like a camera guy. I don't know how this works. I need to ask my friend Brittany. She works in L.A. with cameras and stuff. Or maybe we could
She
just...
works at L.A. with cameras and such.
At L.A.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's a
I
very
don't know.
Bakersfield thing to say.
I don't know anything about him either, so...
I guess we got to ask Louie.
Let's get him on the line.
Hey, Lou. Yeah, right. Speaking of Louie, the cameraman, 2 things about him. Other little tidbits in the news right now. On Facebook, he announced that he will be doing a book signing at the L.A. County Fair on September 1st, I think it was. I'll be posting about that too, so look out for that. Another Louie signing. 2, the Huell meetup that's happening this afternoon at the La Cita bar. The person in charge of it, Where Would Huell Go, posted an update on the events page saying that she had a special secret guest coming. I wonder who that could be.
Cameron?
I wish. Cameron was in the Golden State of Mind documentary, so he's not writing any books like Louis did, but I'd be down for that book too, because this Louis's world with Huell lasts till what, like early 2000s-ish. But then it's Cameron was the rest of the time.
And he was there for the development, but it was pretty sterile. It's not dynamic, the relationship. It was business. I guess clinical, I should say, not sterile.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. 'Cause
it was just business only.
I think Louis came off in the book as a guy who didn't mix business and pleasure.
Yeah.
And Huell was not that type of guy. He, work was life, life was work. It was all a big kind of swirling mass for him. So...
Well, the fact that they established within the first few shoots that they just weren't going to eat together, that was...
But then in the talk, he said that he would have dinner with them sometimes. Because you got to imagine, they had hundreds of dinners.
Right.
I'm sure there were times when they're just like... I mean, think about going to I don't know, little podunk towns that they're at. There's only one. Does Louis really have to go to a different restaurant?
Right, yeah. Maybe
But remember, he also wasn't like a red meat guy, and Huell was, so
True.
maybe we're really diving deep into the reading between the lines of Louis' book. But one of these days, I want to just interview him and get some more details of this time in his life. Speaking of details, the details in the way that these ladies that we got in the next little bit, sitting on this bench, they're representing a lot of 90s styles at once. 3 ladies on a bench. Huell is exploring this "we own it" concept that he seems to be obsessing over.
Right.
And the lady that he talks to the most has these killer sunglasses. Did you notice these?
No. Let me see.
So I brought up Brian Bosworth, a number of times.
Uh-huh.
These were like this kind of sunglasses that he would wear at press conferences and stuff. But she doesn't seem like the type who would maybe have these. I don't get it, but I love them.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 ladies, big chunky gold chains, shoulder pads, and kind of like this era of 90s Hillary Clinton haircut. That kind of bob type haircut.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, when he was talking about how everyone owns it, did you notice that he brought it up and they got to I feel like I have a right to be here.
Yeah.
Which was an extension of thinking, you own it.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, yeah, except for skateboarders.
Right.
Which is
it's a funny phenomenon that these public places not being used in the purpose in which they were designed creates illegalities.
Yeah. Which Ocean Huell, he's a old pro skateboarder. Mm-hmm. I think he's like an architectural historian now at the University of Oregon or Oregon State. I think it's University of Oregon.
He went deep with this.
But he's written on that and how people in the public feel excluded, even though it's a public place.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There's a documentary on Vice that's kind of talking about that, like how skateboarders of all types, not just street skaters, but like even all these like downhill longboarders and all that stuff, they just see the man-made kind of like these concrete environments that we've created in a different way than other people do.
Right. It's almost like the sport, so skateboarding would have developed with the expansion of, I don't know, like minimum parking requirements and requiring bigger parking lots and these different setups and different public spaces. And so they utilize it as such, and the sport's almost evolved with it, but then you're pushed into like these created parks for them, but usually are in rough parts of town.
True.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's a side.
Well, I mean, to put in perspective, like you're not an everyday skater anymore, but you still will mention handrails wherever we are in town.
Right.
Like you just see a handrail in a different way than I ever do. Because once you mention it, I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, yeah, that would be crazy. But then it's done for me because I didn't skate. But
yeah.
Do you think that our next interviewee talked about this kind of stuff?
No, I think he lived his whole life without even thinking about anything remotely close to it.
Yeah. So we got some tourists that come through, and the first person that Huell talks to is, I'm assuming, our main guy's son.
Andy Rooney.
Well, Andy Rooney, yeah, he does kind of look like Andy Rooney. So Andy Rooney's our main guy, but he talks to the son first, and he had a shirt that in like form alone has already come upon the show. Basically, it's a black shirt, and it says 4 words on it: London, Paris, Rome, Louisville. So, obviously, because we had this same thing in Morro Bay, remember that?
Yeah.
This must have been like a tourist shirt template that different cities just threw theirs on. Because it's the same design and everything. But then, Huell notices his California's Gold interviewee costume being worn by Andy Rooney and goes straight to him. And thank goodness he does. Because... Oh, dang. Oh, Mickey Rooney.
They're both
They're brothers.
They're brothers,
yeah.
so, I mean...
He does look more like Mickey Rooney
I should say
Andy.
Mickey Rooney, yeah.
Yeah.
Because as everyone knows, he was whatever, the old guy who worked at the movie theater in the Phantom of the Megaplex. Disney's.
Oh, that's what you're going with? Not Night at the Museum 2? That huge movie? You're going to go with this little weird Disney Channel show?
It was a movie, not a show.
Oh, was it?
It was one of they would release one movie a month.
Dude, I don't know that. Elijah Wood? Is that Elijah Wood?
No. Wait, is it? Oh.
Hold on. Let's look this up. Totally offshoot. Hold on.
This is amazing.
Okay, yeah, not even close.
Some Jacob Smith kid.
I didn't know this was a year 2000 movie. Elijah Wood was already doing Lord of the Rings by this time.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Whatever, though. We need to get off this Mickey Rooney stuff and just talk about his glasses holder. Because it is a doozy. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Like, this is absolutely perfect because he's got the right size glasses holder so that he can also hold 2 pens in the breast pocket, too.
Yeah. And just, he seems like a very nice man.
Totally.
But imagine saying that you want to go study theater, and this is your dad.
Yeah. Well, I don't like
happen.
it, but you can do it.
And he seemed like an honest guy, though.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. Because he said something about Texas not being nearly as nice as, or that section of California. Cause
he refers to it as the most beautiful state capital he's ever seen.
More than Texas?
And then Huell says, "Hey, are you sure people in Texas want to hear you say that?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, we're honest in Texas."
Yeah.
I mean, he says in different words, but that's what he says.
Show's also not going to be airing in Texas, as far as I know. But
True.
So I think maybe he knew he was safe. So after this, we are heading to the state's Vietnam Memorial, which doesn't look anything like the National Memorial in Washington, D.C., but still a pretty cool thing because the way it's set up, it looks like... Have you been here? Because you went to the park, you said.
No, I didn't go to
Okay.
this piece.
It looks like it also has a lot of names, probably just the California people, I assume, but some cool bronze statues and whatnot. But Huell just moves right along from it. Doesn't even want to go inside.
At all. Yeah, did you notice what Dody said, though?
Yeah, because
when
she
they-
turns away from the memorial to go to the formal rose garden.
Right, and he'll ask her what I think is a good question. Oh, this is the formal rose garden? And she said, yeah, I call it the formal one, formal rose garden, because I have a lot of roses planted, formal and informal.
What?
I don't,
Dody? What does that mean?
it's so... It's such a subjective thing. It's funny. But she
Yeah.
has the authority of a docent. So I would have just thought it was the formal garden.
Yeah, because you go with what they say. You don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
After that is a cactus garden, which is on the former grounds of the pavilion that was like part of the state fair grounds that
Yeah.
took place during the early 1900s in the state capitol. And then this is an odd...
Before we get there, though,
we
we talk about the skating rink,
No.
right? There was a skating rink on the old pavilion.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about like skateboarding again.
Oh, that'd be awesome. No. Could you
No,
imagine?
no, roller skating.
So when Dody mentions that there used to be skating there, we get the second, what? From Huell. Oh, man.
What? What?
Yeah.
It's like Steve Austin.
That was a short thing, though.
But then she has this interview that she needs to have done with Harold Blankenship. And he's basically...
No, it's Arlo.
What'd I say? Oh, yeah. I got it written right there. Same deal with you. Can't read my own writing.
Which his claim to fame for Dody was that he's never ran into a tree. And if you see how close he was to them, that's an impressive thing.
That's super quick interview because then we go on to Bill Trumpler, who is the supervising groundskeeper.
Okay, before we get to this,
What do you got now?
do you think he voted for you-know-who out of loyalty?
I thought this too. Because he's getting talked to about the similarities in name
Right, like he's
a lot.
It just sounds like a little... You trump a little less.
Yeah.
You're a trumpler.
Oh, poor Bill. But
Bill seems like a very dedicated person, though. To the
yeah, did you also notice that he seems to have a very harsh, deep-seated hatred of squirrels?
Dude, okay. Yeah, when they
Squirrels.
cut, because Huell says something. Okay, so Bill doesn't like squirrels,
No.
and then Huell tries to say, "Oh, you sure you want to say that?" And he says, "Well, if you saw what they did, then you would maybe feel the same way." And they get to the point where they talk about how the squirrels are brave,
Yeah.
and they cut to the squirrel that just whips its head around.
Go? You talking about me?
Oh,
man.
it's so good.
Have you seen that like surprise squirrel meme?
Yes, that's what.
Doesn't it seem like that? Ugh. Anyway,
That's funny.
Bill is talking about how much he hates the squirrels. They mess everything up. And doesn't he seem like the kind of guy that if a sprinkler broke in high school, he would have showed up? Like you never saw him before.
Right.
But then the sprinkler broke, and all of a sudden there's this guy who's just like got keys on his belt and wearing a light green shirt and just comes and just fixes it in 2 seconds.
He is the "some heroes don't wear a cape" kind of
There you
person.
go.
But did you notice that it looked like it was Casual Friday?
A little
And I
bit.
said, "You're going to be on TV." He's like, "Oh," and he went to put on
Because he's got like a thermal on underneath or something.
I think it's just a bulky blue shirt, right? Or do you think it's a thermal with the pushed-up sleeves?
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Okay, yeah, he's busting out of that.
Oh, gotta go put on my work blues. But then we're back with Dody, and she's taking us to the Father Sarah statue. But before they can get there, Huell's got to bust her chops a little bit more.
Yes.
Because there's a busted water pipe, which I guess is why they called Bill to come fix it. And he's like, oh, there's a busted water pipe on the state capitol grounds? And Doty's like, I'm sure someone already complained about it.
Ugh, yeah.
Poor Dody.
This is actually the scene where Huell is directing, I think, Dody the most. And she kind of gives it, he touches her arm, and she gives okay, I'm okay. I got this. I know what you're trying to do. She kind of moves away from his hover hand.
Yep.
Stands at a good spot.
And
then
then
he gives her a little push.
A very soft but firm nudge.
Shove.
Yeah. And this is like the third time that Dody also mentions that kids eat lunches out here. Oh, during school days, you see kids eating lunches. Oh, kids like to eat lunch at the foot of the statue and rub his toes for good luck?
Toenails.
Toenails?
It was toenails. Okay, we got to verify this because this is too weird.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Toenails. That's so gross, no?
Which I want to see how clean his toenails are.
Yeah, they don't really... Louis must have thought, oh, no, I'm not zooming in on that.
Mm-mm.
But Huell definitely does it.
We already got a good toe shot on Buried Treasure, right? That episode we did.
Yeah. The big plaster toe. I thought you meant because Huell's wearing sandals.
Oh, no, that too.
No. I saw recently on Instagram, because I follow the Dunes Center, which I guess is in charge of that area, that they have one of the big Sphinx heads that they found on display.
Oh, okay.
So
that's cool.
I think it's a pretty good evidence that there really was a movie set out there. But do we got anything else? Does Dody have anything more? Not really, huh?
There was one little bit where Huell tells Dody, hey, you know what? She loves this place. Then he says, what does he say? Oh, no, she says, people tell me that it shows that she loves the place. And then Huell gives her some very kind words and says, well, it shows. And that was the nicest moment they had.
Yeah. So Huell's back in the front yard for our ending here, and he's going to end it the same way that he started, which we didn't mention this because we were all blabbing about the Huell events, but this is a weird cold open.
Yes.
Because Huell is raking nothing in the beginning. Anyway, he's just raking nothing. And then we come back, and he's walking towards this tree. And he's doing his, next time, California's gold, blah, blah, blah. Taking his sunglasses off. And he acts so surprised, like, there's my rake again. Got to do some raking. And you could tell that they must have realized that there was nothing before, because now there's like this already perfect little spot that also is his mark to know where to stop. So he's like, doing a little rake.
He did say something in the outro, and he was going back to his whole, it's my backyard, it's your backyard, it's everyone's backyard. And how many of us can say that we can have 34 acres in California, of a yard in California?
Well, according to you, everyone now.
So, and that's what he was saying. So I guess the high land prices were felt even back then. Yeah.
So this episode really ends on a very serene note. You're going to hear this music. It's this like kind of ethereal soundscape that is created for shots of an older man doing Tai Chi in front of a bed of flowers.
And when I first watched it, it is very serene. Mm-hmm. And then I thought he was controlling the water that would spray.
Because the sprinklers are coming every once in a while, yeah. But did you notice that even our Tai Chi man has the California's Gold uniform on?
Okay, so you know what? I didn't notice that.
Dude.
I noticed that even the Tai Chi man is a people watcher.
Yep.
That everyone walks by.
He's
a...
He also looks in the camera at Louis. Like he caught Louis filming him right as, who is this, Rick Rubin? Goes behind him? Who is this guy? He's one of the more interesting guys we see in the whole show, and it's just a walk by for 2 seconds.
Just like a ZZ Top.
Oh, man. Anyway.
Well,
it's a well done shot, Louis. You did a good job. But that's kind of it for this episode. This was... You didn't think you could pull something out of the hat when it comes to literally a state, like the state's front yard, but it's...
But we did.
We did. He did, and we did.
We did. We all did it.
Dody Wheaton, we did it. Anyway.
All right, well,
where are we going next week?
We are doing all things mariachi.
That's right. Not mariachis, but mariachis.
Mariachis, dude.
Louis said he loved how Huell said it, so we're going to say it like Huell. Yeah, we're in L.A.
Yep.
And we're meeting some younger mariachi players in a high school and going to Olvera Street. One of Huell's favorite places.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah. But I think we need to get on out of here. We need to go get ready for this Huell marathon. We need to try and get in touch with someone in L.A. who can maybe go to the La Cita bar to get to that Huell meetup. Maybe FaceTime us so we can talk to Luis, tell him how much we love him so much. Again.
He just, okay.
Yeah, he didn't seem all that impressed with the show, but maybe we need to catch him when he's not meeting 500 other people next time. Anyway, flip on KCET, watch online, or always watch on Chapman. And thanks for listening to us this week, next week, and every week as we continue our search for
Huell's Gold.
And now we're going into the forest.
Yes. And you are standing under a fossil.
What?
At one time, there was a roller skating rink here in the park.
What?